Your identity, that is who you are and where you are, determines what kind of opportunities you have access to. It determines where you can travel to, what kind of services you can access, who becomes your leader, and even what kind of money you spend. And since we all like money, let's talk about money. 180 million Africans are financially excluded because they cannot prove their identities. To put that in context, that is 3.6 times the population of Kenya, who cannot access formal financial services because they do not have access to a bank account of any form. Now, this translates and implies that you most likely have limited or no access to credit because you do not have a bank account. Secondly, you most likely have poor healthcare because you cannot access any form of health insurance. And finally, this ultimately leads to poverty because you have very limited economic freedoms. And what we're trying to do at Appruve is to enable people prove their identities, giving them access to financial services using data. So how do we do this? First, we connect to several different identity databases. Then we build technology on top of these identity databases. Then finally, we use this technology to create an interface that financial service providers will use to onboard and verify their customers in order to give them access to financial services. And in order to sustain what we do, we charge the financial service provider per verification that they make on our platform. And since we started in February 2019, we signed 30 plus financial service providers who verify 20,000 unique identities on our platform. Also, since we started, we connected to identity databases in 4 countries, giving us access to 80 million plus identities. Also, we plan to scale to 6 countries by the end of this year in order to create a Pan-African impact for identity. Because one thing we did realize was when some companies want to scale, right? Let's say you pick a Pan-African bank like Standard Bank, they want to deploy a service that will help everybody across board in all the countries they serve. But they can't do that because the identity infrastructure in each country is different. So you have to figure that out per country. So we are trying to figure that out and let financial service providers build on top of that. They don't have to worry about figuring out the identity peculiarities for each country. Now, this Pan-African impact we're talking about to help widen the reach of verification and identity services, reduce the cost of fraud, and also increase access to money. Now, why do we do what we do? The first fundamental declaration of human rights states that all human beings are born free and equal. 4 children are born every second. One is a Dutch child, and his passport gives him access to 184 countries without a visa. One is a Nigerian child, and he has access to just 47 countries without a visa. Another is a North Korean child, and his government doesn't even allow him go out. And one is a Rohingya child. She has no access because no government or country recognizes her. In order to achieve the fundamental freedoms of human rights, we need an all-inclusive world. And we are just trying to solve a small bit of that using legal identity to enable financial inclusion in order to increase money-based injustices. So I would like to invite you to join us on our mission to connect Africans to opportunities all over the world. Thank you.